All right, so now that I'm done accidentally closing stuff, let's bring chat back up. All right, chat's online. Let's see, YouTube's online, and Twitch looks like it's online. Perfect. So, where were we before I inadvertently closed everything? We have 12 errors left. So, this one is basically filter terms is not filled in, and the populate filter terms is not filled in. So those aren't really the right filter terms, essentially. So we're going to need filter terms for each field, essentially. And so we'll do filter terms, code using line equals text filter terms, yeah. Filter terms, um, project path equals filter terms. It's basically the same thing. Yep, like that. And then the last one, filter terms, Visual Studio project name equals text filter terms. And then we needed an integer field for filter terms is selectable as destination equals integer filter terms, which I think actually we had a Boolean. No, we don't. Okay, so that's fine. We have integer. And then we have a date field, which we don't have a date field. So we have our four fields. We have the project path, Visual Studio project name is selectable as destination, and then we have clear filters, which would then be all of the filter value options. So we'll simply scroll through each one of those. Project path, yep. Filter value, Visual Studio project name, also equal null. Okay, so now we're down to 6 errors, and we're saying set default filter terms. And we basically say for each filter term in filter terms for a text field, then we're going to say the selected filter term for the text field is whatever, which is filter term number 4, which is fine. We just need 3 of those. And then we're going to replace the word text field with Visual Studio project name, like that. And then this one will replace Visual Studio project name with project path, like that. And then we'll replace this one with code using line, like so. Okay. Then we had an integer field here, which will replace integer field with is selectable at destination. Do it that way. And then we don't have any date fields, so we can get rid of that. All right, how many errors do we have left? We have 9 errors left. Excellent. Let's go ahead and build and see what happens. Okay, 2 errors left. So Right. Explain it in a Mickey Mouse voice. I don't have a voice modifier for a Mickey Mouse voice. Um, Even though that would be kind of funny. But no, I don't do imitations well, unfortunately. I'm curious what audio manipulations are available now, but I'm not familiar enough with this stuff yet. That would be funny though. All right. So now that I'm done responding to random text messages that came in, which is always not helpful for focus. Right. So from here, we're basically saying SQLite setup, populate SQLite table, T Visual Studio project, but we don't have populate. So this actually goes away because this gets populated by the user. There's no default settings for that. So, all right, and now there's errors. Okay, so what do we have? We got this one, close this. All right, so this says drop table Visual Studio project. No, we're going to remove that one too. So we're not going to have a drop table command for this, which is fine. And now we can actually get it to run. Fantastic. All right, so our initial objective was to create the select store procedure prototype and see what happened. Really? Filter type, no such column filter type is deleted. All right, well, that's a pain. Filter type is here, so filter type does not have a field for is deleted. That is very true. And yeah, that's what it's looking for in the view. So obviously the table would need that field. So we're going to put one in and we're just going to call it is deleted, make it an integer, give it a default value of 0. Okay, commit that, save it, and that should allow this to give us data. Yep, it does. Excellent. So close out of SQLite now, and that should resolve our issue there. All right, that part's good. So now we can pick on our server, and of course our server's not online. All right, so it couldn't talk to the server. That's because the server was off. So we're going to start the server again. So server's online. Excellent. And So now that we've connected to the server and it's got our database, it's got our schema set up, we can go to our table. So we're going to check on testing table 4. Go to our table information. We already have some information about it. We're going to use all steps to complete it. And we have our important fields saved. Okay. We're going to then say steps to complete. Yep, we got all the procedure names. Excellent. And it basically saying your field has an invalid data type. Yeah, it would. Primary key at all. So my guess is because, oh, that could have been list or it could have been new that had that issue. So it's list. We'll go here, go to definition. I thought we had finished this one. But I'm not seeing it and it didn't get down to there. So my guess is that something went wrong with that. Let's grab, apparently nothing. So that's fine. We're going to tell it that's okay. And now we have our text for that part. So let's grab our text. Let's go to SQL Server, which we just have to open up SSMS. Okay. All right, and we connect to our server. And at that point in time, we can start a new query, paste in our text from our generator, and we have that. So we have several issues here. We have the parameter for summary, which is fine. And then basically we're not ending one before starting the next one. So we need an end quotation after parameter definition summary. So let's go in here and we'll just do a quick search parameter definition summary. Yep. And so we got this one. And we'll put that one here. So that's declare. This is set. It's set summary. It's before set select, which is here. So we would have to put this one in, and so we'll do that. And then this one would be set select, which doesn't have the same issue because we have this line here. So we'll just use this same line that I just put it in like this. Okay, and we'll put in a colon there as well, semicolon. All right, so we have that one and we have that part corrected. Now, every field that's in here actually would benefit from having two tabs prior to the comma. So if we're under here, it has no tabs, we'll put two tabs in. That's going to move them all forward. Okay, and then the last one, again, is going to have one tab, so it'll look like that. We'll have an extra line already. And so it'll end up looking like this. And then it has a weird select star statement for the testing table. Isn't super helpful. Well, actually have to be right back. we are back, and I can be heard. Excellent. That's all good. So, it says I have a viewer. I'm not sure where. Looks like Twitch has someone, which is a good thing, I guess. So let's take a look. Oh, a circus monk. Interesting. Interesting choice, but I'll go ahead and follow them back because I can. And we will continue. So, looking at our stored procedure, we essentially have fields being declared incorrectly. So these are the filter names, but they're coming through with commas instead of the declare words. So this is up before set variable values. So we're going to look at that in our code. So that's here, and this is where this is. So it's basically saying, hey, declare this part. Why am I not seeing that part? Yep, and region. It's very strange that this is here after parameter summary. Okay, so we have set variable values, which is this one. Which one am I in? This is the new record procedure. We don't want the new record. We want the select record procedure, which is down here. So we're going to check on this one, and it's basically saying for each one, we're putting a comma and a tab before it. We want a tab and the word declare, okay, with a space. So we'll save that. So hopefully this works, and we're going to hit continue. It's going to say it can't do it. Exactly. It's not successful, and that's fine. So going back to steps to complete, we're going to turn off the earlier procedures. Let's make it set to custom, then turn off add, update, delete, and get, and list. And now we're just on select, so that's the procedure we're going to write. We're going to tell it to go. So there's our procedure code again. Let's see if this is any better this time, or if we have to restart the app. And it does look like it's a little bit better. So we didn't have to restart, which is fine. So we do have some minor fixes to make. We have declarations. We have an extra line in here. We probably could use an extra line after set variable values. And it does also look like we have a bunch of extra tabs in places. So that's a little weird. But let's go ahead and find the set variables statement, which is here. And we're simply going to put in a new line before it like this. Yep, just a pen line, and that's going to give us our extra line. Then down here, it's asking for date field, decimal field, field with unique key, text field, which are the name of the fields, which is fine, but it's not including the tabs correctly. So that's down here. We have a tab, an apostrophe, a tab, a comma, and we ended up with an extra one, it looks like. So we also ended up with a comma on the first line. So parameter definition for summary, which I think we have to probably have to set a Boolean to eliminate the comma for certain values and not others. So this is going to open up that part, and then we want to make sure it doesn't have a leading comma. So let's find our Boolean, which we have up here set to show leading comma, which is exactly what we have here. So it says show leading comma is false. And so that's where we will say is if show leading comma is true, then this is the leading comma that we want. Else, when it's false, um, we would want this one instead. Okay, and that gives us a different one where it starts with an apostrophe instead of a comma. So we still get our two tabs. And then we can remove this part here. Okay, and essentially for the first one, show leading comma is false. And then after we've put this in, we can say as if show leading comma uh, is false, and we'll say equals false, show leading comma set to true. Okay, so now we have that part. That should resolve this extra comma here. And then we just need to make sure we have the tab before the commas, which it says we do. So we should be fine there. So this is the definition for select, which is down here. And this was where it was giving us two tabs before the comma. We can drop that to one. Okay. And in this particular case, it's then going to be that one. So we have that. It's not better. What's not better? That's I wonder if somebody put, is my audio not better? I don't know, I'm not playing any music. It's not better. I'm not sure what that means. Okay. Assuming that wasn't necessarily meant for me, because it's not super clear. Um, yeah. Okay. So now that we know we have maybe it's not better was meaning to the code. Oh, yeah, it's not better. It might not make much sense at first, honestly, but when we look at what we had versus what we're getting to, it's a little bit better. Okay. So if we're gonna close all these and we're gonna check on that code again because we want to make sure that we can get to the point that it'll actually execute. So we're gonna hit continue and error, which is fine. And then it'll continue, which is also fine. And we're going to try it one more time. Cool. So we go back to SQL Server, we take out the preceding and ending brackets, and now this is the code that was generated this time around. So if we scroll in a little bit, we can see that the summary has certain parameter definitions. So essentially it has the filter, which matches this filter. It has the decimal filter and the field filters and whatever. So this one is not lined up. This one is lined up. So we want to get this one to be the same way. And it has the preceding comma. So we're going to go to here and we're going to search for this. So, yep, that one's not it. This one is it. So we have the apostrophe out in front, and then we have the apostrophe at the end. But it does look like we have it for one and not the other. So we're going to do it the same way for this one. Okay, that way we can have that corrected. And that should fix this issue, and it'll make it look like that. So down here, then we go and select star from test table, where primary key is greater than 0. That's not super helpful because we don't like stars. That pulls in way too many fields all at once. And if the view is super wide, it's going to cause a problem. So what we're going to do next then is we have SQL select, which we have to start with, but then we also have to make SQL where, which is the tricky one. So when we're in SQL select, which is here, let's grab SQL select. SQL select equals, what do we have? That's super strange because SQL select doesn't seem to have select star, or I didn't see it. All right, so this one says select star, and that's exactly the problem. So this is going to say where fields are on data table page. These are the fields that we want to return, which we probably should count to make sure that we um, have all the data. So let's get rid of select star, and let's go to our other page. Continue, continue. Error. So let's go to our data table page, and we want to know which fields are on the data table. So this one says on list is data table, and we have a variety of ones that are marked yes. We have text field, we have varchar max, we have a couple of those. So it should be giving us some results. And we're just going to put this here. We're going to say list SQL table fields where is on data table page is equal to 1. And that's going to put the SQL table field name with brackets into this. But my guess is it doesn't have, either doesn't have those filled in or these are bound incorrectly. But we do want to double check on those fields. So let's go over to Sqlite Studio. And we'll grab SQL table fields, go to our data set, and let's see if any of these are on the data table page. Data type, variable name is filter, is on data table page. So these are coming through as null, which is a problem. So we're going to have to diagnose that. So that means this is on the list as a filter. This is list filters. This is supposed to be data tables. So let's look at the data table page in design mode, and let's get that corrected, because this is where we ultimately have a problem now. So let's close and save everything. Let's go back to our view for new. No, not Visual Studio Projects. Those aren't the one. Close that. We're looking for interface creation, views, new. All right. And now if we go down to data table page, we have a couple of options. So we have is on list data table and is on list as a filter. Um, we, we don't want the filter ones on this one because it's on the other one. So we have the clear button. We have destination folder and creation step type for list page. These aren't needed, I don't think. So let's just take this border, just this top section, and just comment it out, right? That's hidden. And so here we have the field name, which is fine. Then we have the, this one's the field caption, also fine. Now this one is looking on is on list as filter. And we'll change that caption to is on data table. Okay, which is fine. That's the column header. And then the cell template is going to have two columns with two buttons. So what are these bound to? This is filter on list page. So is on data table page, yes. And this one is then is on data table page, no. Okay, so that should be pretty straightforward. And then we end up with another set of items, which this is on detail record page, which again, we don't need that. So those are going to go away. This whole column is going to go away. All right, and then control type, which we also don't really need because we're just going to show text. That's going to go away. So is on data table, yes or no? And my guess is that we need to make sure that we're saving that information. So when we go to our filters and we select one of our columns here, we probably, yeah, we have checked events for both fields. And that makes sense. Okay, so that means we're going to go down to our data table page. And when we check our toggle buttons here, we want these to have events as well. So we have checked specifically the checked event for that is on new record page. No, we need to change that name. So the checked property is going to is on data table page. So let's make that one work as part of the name. All right. Checked is that one. Checked is that one. Perfect. So let's go to those definitions, and we're not getting those, but we're going to save SQL table fields without a prompt. So we're going to grab those fields here, there, and there. We'll get rid of this because that's not needed. All right, we have events behind a lot of these other ones. So is on data table page is here. Okay, perfect. So let's make sure that it's getting that data. All right, let's go back. Table, server, table number 4, table information we have set up, steps to complete, we'll say custom. We will then remove the other procedures. All right, so we're just doing the select. We have our important fields set up already. It remembered all of that. And now when we're looking at the new record page, the list filters and the data table page, and this one is that one. So then we can say date, decimal, field, integer, primary key, and text field. So let's double check SQL tables to make sure that we have values here. So now this is on data table page. These are set to ones. Previously they were set to null because there is no answer, which works for me. So now we can hit make magic happen and we'll get into this part. So we have here what should be working, but we do have a small problem because this is going to get a leading comma even though there hasn't been a field yet. And I do want to say that we could just do the primary key first because for every record we want to select, we'll want the primary key. So I think that's what we will start with is we'll just do append primary key field name, which is fine. So that we'll have select, we'll have a tab, we'll have a primary key field name, and then we'll append the line, which is fine. So this will have a problem in it, but all right, and that's working, excellent. And I know right away we're gonna have a typo because we caught it midway through, but let's do a new one, paste, delete the preceding and ending ones, excellent. So now our select statement says, hey, we wanna select the primary key ID, right? Followed by that sort of stuff. But I do think it's because our closing quote. Oh, we had a quote that was out of place on this one, on summary. So my guess is we accidentally had a double quote somewhere. Yep, so this one's got a leading quote and it's got a quote within the statement. So we'll take the quote out there. That should help resolve that issue, then that issue. Then we have our select statement, which is our primary key, date, decimal, field, integer. Again, it shows the field primary key, which will be a problem. Oh, we shouldn't necessarily list it twice. We'll have to find a way to remove that. And then we have text field. You know what we can do is if we went to SQL select and we went, this one is going to take the primary key field name and strap it in. And all we have to do is say if field dot field name SQL table field name does not equal primary key field name, then it can do this. So that way we'll get it and it'll skip the primary key field. Save. All right, that works for me. And then that would remove the duplicate. And we're saying where primary key is greater than 0, but we still don't have the where statement, which is the next key of this. So we have that part, and then we have perform actions, but we're still inside of set variable values for procedure, which I think is what this one's supposed to say. Yep, that's right. Okay, so we have that one, and we have this one, and then we need to start a new statement. So we're going to say set select where, and up top it was saying where equals, you know, primary key is greater than 0, but this is going to be part of our where statement. So we're going to put that down here. So we have where would be somewhere else, be down here. And ideally, it would look something like this, equal where equals where primary key ID is greater than 0. Something like that to start. And then after that, we need the logic of checking each filter type and putting them in appropriately. So, and then at the end of this, we need to combine uh, the summary, SQL summary, and SQL select with the where. So that means we would have to take SQL select equals concatenate SQL select and SQL where and SQL order by, which we haven't even set up yet, but essentially we would need this part, and then we would also have to set SQL summary to be the concatenation of SQL summary and SQL where. Okay, because you don't get order bys in summaries, which is fine. So we can take those two and put them right before the perform actions statement. Yeah. We can put that there. So then we have our select statement and our summary statement, um, which works, but we still have to set up the rest of the where statement. And that is where the filters come in. So we would basically end up with some logic that would say if certain filters met certain conditions. So for example, like date field filter type is something, decimal field filter type is something, then do something with it. So I think we start with like text field types essentially, and kind of go from there. All right, let's look at my sample. My other computer. Okay. Yep. No, that's wrong example. We'll get this ready. We'll get this done pretty quick here, I think. Wrong server, go figure. All right, what do we got? Um, yep, that's the example I wanted. Okay, so essentially, we're going to say if a certain filter type is not null, then we're going to have a begin statement, and then we're going to walk through those things. So for each filter type, which, yeah, we're going to make it look a lot like this loop here. So we're saying for each field in the list of fields within the table, where it's a filter on the list page, we don't have to worry about leading commas here. Nope. Okay. And then this talks about variable names, which again, we're not worried about, not yet. It's gonna be if this. So we have a tab. Yep, then the word if. and then we want the filter type variable. Okay. Variable name for stored procedures, and then it would be filter type. So if filter type equals something, so for ours, it's a text, so we'll say equals, we would have to do it for each type of a filter that we have for a certain type of data, which would depend on the filter type that we've selected from that one. So we would then say if field dot filter list page filter type dot filter type ID. Yeah. So we need to know the filter types that we're working with, which is this one. So data shows 7 different types of filter types, which is fine. Yeah, and I think we would just have to loop through the collection of filter terms for this filter type. And I think we can do that. If we would have to get a collection of filter terms for that filter type. So can we do that? So we have filter type, filter term, actions here. Minimize all that. Okay. So this should be select, right? An update, which is also fine. But filter term, I thought had an item or a method in here that was, yeah, list filter term SQL filter type ID. So this returns a Boolean to say, hey, did we pull that or not? And this says get the simple list, and I don't know that it actually gets that. So it basically says it gets it and then get simple list filter terms. Yeah, that's pretty simple, which is just the filter ID and the filter term. But I need the full list. So this is get simple list for filter type ID. And this one is list filter term filter type ID. So this is only pulling the ID and the term name. We need more information than that for what we're looking for. So filter type and term, which is here, filter type, filter term, filter, no, wrong one. Filter type, filter, there we go. Okay, so filter type, name, filter term, which is fine. And then we need more information from filter terms, I believe. So yeah, that's going to be those other fields. So if we go here and grab our options, we can essentially grab all of the fields and go and paste them back in here. Okay. Okay. So if we just grab this part of it, we can paste it like so. So this defines filter type, filter term with all of the other fields that we would need. So let's set that up that way. And then let's go to the setup module to make sure that when this is set up on a different computer, it runs the same way. So we'll do filter type, filter term, and we're looking for a V, which is here. So actually this one would have created it the right way. So that's entertaining. Filter type ID, filter type name, filter term ID, filter, yeah, okay. So redoing it would have rebuilt it for filter type, filter term. And I think there's only one place that it gets called, which is behind the button, which isn't completely correct because it should also be called in create all views, but I don't think it is being called there correctly. So this is, yep, lots of views being built. Then we have our template, which we can minimize, and this is create all SQL views. So this is filter type term, which I think just needs to be replaced with this one because that's a slightly different one. So we'll do that. And actually we'll just put it afterwards and we'll comment this one out. Okay, like so. Save that. So we should now have the correct one for that part. What does that mean? Well, inside of our actions, we need to be able to select those fields. So instead of just filter term ID and filter term from this view, we would want all of the fields that we get based on a certain where condition. So we have the ID, and then I think after the ID, we'll just grab everything else. We'll just paste it down like this. All right. And the preceding table names are now basically replaced like so. Okay, so this is going to select all of those fields from here, and we want to use those fields probably the same way we're going to do our select. So this is our list, which is fine. I don't know that we have select. Oh, it's down here. Okay, so slightly out of order. This one, yeah, that's just that part. And then select doesn't even seem to have the right fields, so that doesn't matter. Okay, so we'll ignore select and we'll just finish up the list because that's what will make a difference. So let's go ahead and split the window. And we have the filter term, but remember we're in list here, so we're going to be adding to the regular one. So this is filter term model, which is the filter term, which is going to be a new filter term model. Okay. And this we're going to use filter term as the record. So filter term ID. But actually, no, this isn't quite right. This is filter type filter term. Yeah. Filter type filter term. But this is inside of filter terms. So yes, we do just want to return filter terms. Okay, but this is filter term information. Yes. So select filter term ID, added, modified, whatever. We don't need this one. And we would then say data information. Yep. Good. Order by filter term based on a filter type ID. And so we send in that parameter, and then we're identifying the filter term that we're going to fill in, which is fine. And then we're going to fill it in based on this stuff up here. So we have filter term, and filter term is based on that string, which is fine. What are we trying to do? Return strings after possible null reference. Yeah, I'm not worried about that because that's checking it up here. Is the filter term not null? Then do that. Okay. And then the rest of them, I think, will be integers, which I think they're all filled in. Hmm. All right. So that's filter types and terms, which is fine. So we have a couple of one like numbers, currencies, text, date searches, whatever, and we have those options. All right, good. So then this is doing simple list filter terms, but we don't want that. We actually want list filter terms, add filter term. And if this is going to be getting the list, we have one reference. This one says get simple list. What if we just called it get list? Because it wouldn't be get simple list anymore. Yeah, this is list filter term, which is the more complicated one. I want to confuse myself, but yeah. All right, let's just do that, and we'll call it get list filter term Sqlite, and this is going to list the filter terms based on the filter type, and it's going to return the list of filter terms as well. So we do list filter terms. The static collections list filter terms. Yeah, it's right here. Okay. All right. And that's get list filter term that returns the list as well after it gets it. So we're going to go to this one back in here. So we need to set up a lot of these items. This information doesn't really matter so much for a list. So we got rid of that. And as we go down here, we have filter term does not equal null. And we have to repeat this process for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values essentially, but most of these are going to be decimals. So the next one after filter term is first filter value shown, which is going to be a decimal. So we'll go up here, or sorry, not a decimal, but an integer, and that's where we can put this part in here and then take that out. So this part's fine, and then the second one will have the same problem, which is then second value shown, okay, which is fine, and then is multi-filter value shown, and I'm just going to take the same value, grab that, paste that, and then the comparator text or symbol is going to be the string. Okay, this, whoops, back up. All right, there we go. So first comparator text or symbol, that is a string. Second comparator text or symbol, that's also a string. All right, and then is wildcard before filter value, those are both decimals. So we'll take those two, and this is the last few fields, so we'll just delete that, move those down, and then we will capture these values as well. Okay, so we have that information. And so now we have is wildcard. Why am I buzzing again? Texted advertisements from Spot Hero. Yeah, that's not stuff I needed for the day. Okay. Yeah, fully aware I have tasks due today, and I keep getting email reminders about it, but we're gonna keep going. So this essentially is going to obtain those items for our list, and then here, list filter term, it's going to add the filter term to it, and then it will close. It says it's complete, which is fine, and then since we're essentially getting the list of filter terms, which is here, based on a filter type ID, we should be able to utilize this function inside of filter term actions to populate a collection that we can work around. So inside of here, where we're working now, I do believe for these are our actions. We have interface, change notifications, properties, and fields, and then we have our methods. But for properties and fields is really short. We could create a collection within this variable that we'll need. So let's go to the current project. All right, so that's this one, and this essentially is going to be an observable collection of filter terms to work with. So we'll paste that in, and we'll say list filter. We can actually just call it filter terms equals new observable collection of filter terms. Okay. So when we want to populate that list of filter terms, we can go down here and we're essentially saying now, well, that one's fine, that one we did. So here we have, is it a filter on the list page? And then we can say filter terms will equal actions filter terms dot uh, so this is the procedures, yes. So we probably would want access to the filter term actions class. Okay, yeah, filter term actions. So I do believe we'll set that up here. We'll just say filter term actions. We'll call it actions filter. Terms is a new filter term actions class. Okay, so now that's mapped. We can work with this, and then we'll say get list filter terms, and we're looking for a filter type. So then we would say field dot list page filter type ID. All right, so that should give us filter terms that we can loop through. And yeah, a for each loop and a for each loop, we'll make it work. So yeah, so we start with the if filter type is not null. Okay, if filter type is not null. So that means they've selected a filter. Then we can put a begin statement on here. Uh, yeah, we can do append line, begin. And then at the end, we'll actually have to have an end statement as well. Okay, take that out because we don't need it. And put that there. Okay. And this is then where we can loop the filter terms that are applicable for what we're doing. So we would say for each filter term model, call it filter term in filter terms. Yep. Then this is where we can begin our loop. Is it filter? Yeah, because I think in our new one we're calling them filter terms, not filter types. All right. So, and then we want filter values is not null. So that makes sense. And we're basically going to say append some text, and we would say if filter type, which is this one, okay, filter type equals append filter term dot filter term ID. Yeah. We're not doing append line yet, but we're doing append. And right. So then it's going to depend on if it requires if it requires a filter value or not. Because filter type 12, for instance, doesn't require a value at all. and that's just like is not null or something like that. So this is filter terms, which if we just look at that data, we can see, yep, is first filter value shown and is second filter value shown, because if it's the second one, then we have to also include that. So then we could say if filter term dot is first value shown equal to 1, then we would append the text again, and we would have to say and the variable filter value 1, which then is this one, filter value 1 is not null, means the user gave us a value, okay? And for the ones like between where we need two filter values, we would then have to do is second filter value shown, and then this would be filter value 2 is null. Okay, so after all of that, then we could do dot append line, sp append line. There we go. So we have those things. And then we have to make the setups for the actual filter statements and the appending of the where inside of these blocks. Okay, so we have the begin and we have the end, and then we would have the variable name for stored procedures followed just by the word filter with another tab in here. So we would then do sp append, okay, it would be like back t, back t, yep, and then we would do set, okay, dot append. We would then need fields variable for stored procedures, like so, append filter equals okay. So we have set filter equals something, and then we would have to do set where, yep, SQL where equals something else, right? Which is fine. I want to make sure that this is going to generate the code at all correctly, and then we can make it work some more. All right, so I do think that will function there. All right, so we have a semicolon missing. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, interface creation. Yep, pick a server, pick a table, test table 1, test table 4, sorry, and then steps to complete, we're saying custom, we're turning off, add, update, delete, get, and list. So we just have select, we have our important fields, we know our fields, we have our list filters, we have our data table fields, we have everything else is the same, and we're gonna hit go, at which point in time we can get the string from there, and we can go over here and paste a new collection, which we immediately know there's a quotation problem. So what is the quotation problem? It happens to be after the where statement. So we'll put that off to the side, and we're going to go find the where statement. So we went with where primary key field is greater than 0, and we didn't put a closing apostrophe there. Okay, closing single quote is what I meant. All right, so we got that part. Now, our begin and end statements are all sorts of clustered up because they're not tabbed in correctly. So in this case, we're saying date field filter type is not null, and immediately the begin statement is too far back. So we're going to put that in a line. Okay, that goes there. Then we're going to need an extra line break or an extra line so we can see what we're doing, which is like this. All right. And then for the if, we're going to need an extra tab, like so. That puts it here. And then in this case, since the date field's filter values could take 2, it kind of says if the filter type is 3 and the filter value 1 is not null and 2 is not null, then it wants to begin another one, which requires 2 more tabs. Okay, just tab and tab. Excellent. So then we wanted to set the date field filter to something and set the SQL where field filter to something. Okay, so we then would be able to separate them to that, and after the where statement, then we would put the end line, and the end line would need 2 tabs in front of it. Tab, tab. Okay. And then the other end line needs 1 tab in front of it, like so. All right, that gets us there. Then we're going to end up needing another line break after that, like so. Save, and that will format it to give us that extra line break there. All right, so filter type 3, filter value 1, filter value 2 required. This ends up being all sorts of screwy because we're not really building anything yet. But text field filter value 2 wasn't set up. Text field filter value 2. Right. So why wasn't filter value 2 set up in the declarations? So something else was there. Filter value 1 is null. Is second filter value present, which is the filter type. So it doesn't, right, but okay. Because filter type 3 is between. So between for text, why does between for text even exist? Filter type, filter term, data. No, let's go down here to view. Text search contains is 4. Between is a date range. Interesting. Okay. So that's filter type 1 would get between. yeah, date field is type 3, which makes sense. A decimal field is type 3, which makes sense, but a text field type 3 does not make sense. We'll have to break it into here because we're saying for each field that has that, we're going to get the terms based on the filter type that I selected for that field. And maybe it's just the filter type isn't selected proper. So if we go to SQL table fields, data, list page, what is this one? What's the last one? List page, filter type, yeah. I have 6, 1, 5, and 6 for filter types. And we would then have date range, currency value, foreign key selections, multi-select lists, number values, text searches. Okay, and let's just take, I know that that's going to, that failed. But if we go to list filters, all right, date field has a date range. Field with unique key has a text search. This one has a number field. This one has a text search. So it definitely didn't filter the right way, I don't think, but it's such a hot mess right now, I can't really tell. So we're going to try it again and see what we get. Close that. Okay, I'll be right back. All right. Let's see where this goes again. Oh, more work coming in. Why not? Okay, so let's open her up and let's grab our server, grab our table information, all good. Steps to complete. We'll say custom again, turn off these procedures, leave on select. Everything else is good. Saved everything, and we'll say go. Now, in this case, it's saying for each term in terms, which up here, terms was given one item to work with. So that should work. We're going to hit go again, and now terms is 4. Okay. And this one, variable name, is a decimal field. All right, we'll hit continue again. And then this one is a field with unique key. Filter terms is now 8. I have 8. Oh, I see what I did. Okay, that would be a problem. So in here, it basically says list filter term SQLite based on the filter type ID, which when it's receiving the data, it is all fine, but it doesn't actually clear. No, okay, so it clears the simple list, but then it adds to the regular list down here, so it wasn't clearing properly. So that's why they were creating more and more of them. All right, so then this one, filter terms, is now 4. We'll hit continue, and we're going to check on our string. All right, so it's probably still going to be wrong, but we should be better off than we were. All right, remove the first one and remove the last one. We look like we're a bit better off. So the first one here, date filter type is not null. Date filter type is 3, and filter type 1 is not null, and 2 is not null. Okay, so that's pretty easy, actually. So then the filter itself has to be the combination of those things. There's no wild cards to deal with, so we would have to say date field, where would be and date field is less than date field filter value 1. Oh, interesting though, because the filter values, yeah, I guess so. We could probably put them in here. If we're sending this where statement into the conditionals, we'll have to have the actual filter values declared in the definition, not just these. And that's doable, I think. We would have to then say date field is greater than or equal to filter value 1 and less than or equal to filter value 2. So it would have to look like that as part of our where. And the date field filter piece with the wildcards doesn't really matter here. But that does mean our filter values have to be sent into the definitions. Yeah, which shouldn't be horrible, I guess. So let's go back to, which is fine. All right, so the first part of it that we need to add them into is this, and I think we're using the same definitions for summary and select. So we could just set one to the other. I mean, it's all the same fields, it's just a different SQL statement. So let's grab this one, parameter definition summary, which is here, and that's this one. So we're saying for each field, append, filter, varchar max, append line, and that's at the end, which is fine. But then I think we have to also send in the definitions of filter value ones, twos. I don't think we need types because that's going to help divvy it up. But the filter value piece when we're declaring it. So let's put a break here. And at the top of the statement, we were doing filter value and filter value 2. So we'll grab this loop. We're already in that loop, so we'll just need this part of this loop, and we'll put that here, and then we'll put that one down. So in that case, we have the filter, which is the wildcard version of it, followed by the variable name with filter value 1, but we don't need it to say equals null, right? No, it's just the data type because it doesn't have that part. So this part goes away, and then this part goes away, like so. So filter value 1, and if the second filter value is present, we would have filter value 2. All right, so that goes in there. And then for parameter definition for select instead of summary, they're both running off the same conditions. So we could just do summary, select equals summary, and then we wouldn't have to loop it all again. We would just have that. Okay, so that means select equals summary, close this, like that. And then we have SQL select, where we're saying select this data and where a certain condition begins. And then for 1 and 2, because we're looking at wildcard symbology. All right, I think that's where filter terms come in, because like between has wildcard before value and after value are both 0. So we wouldn't need to do that. We would only have to do it if it had wildcard symbols. So yeah, that makes sense. So this part's gone, which is fine. This is variable name, which is filter, and that's where it comes up when we can say if filter term dot is wildcard before filter value equals 1, or wildcard after filter value is 1. Then we need this. Otherwise, we don't need that. And then filter is going to be based on where the wild card is. So, yeah. Let's stop that for the moment. Get this back to here. And then we're basically saying that something something filter is equal to and we're going to stop it there because we would then say if wildcard filter value is 1, right? That's where we can then put in the wildcard symbol, like so, that, and a plus sign, plus before the value name, right? And then same thing for the back side of it is if it's after is wildcard after filter value, okay? And then we need to do the field name. So it's the view and the field name, I believe, but we're gonna then do this, append variable. So field dot variable name for stored procedures. Yep, which is just fine. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, put that there, put that there, put that there. And then at the end it'll be sub dot append line, just like so. All right. And then we have set SQL to where, which would be something else. All right. Now that we got a couple of those straightened away, let's try this again. Darky, you're a new .NET developer. Excellent. Okay. Well, some of this stuff might be a little bit advanced, but feel free to hang around. I know it's a little confusing. My mind works in weird ways. So let's go with that. This says show leading comma. This one's set to, yep, all right, that's fine. Continue. This one does the for each. Yep, continue. All right, got me down to where I want it to be. Let's grab all of our text, go over to SQL and paste, and we have a comma, or apostrophe out of place again. Okay, well, since we have an apostrophe out of place, we just have to find where. Oh, all right. So parameter select equals parameter definition summary. That's where I'm wrong, which is here. All right. And then it appends a line and then it does that. So we're going to take that out now. SB, yep. Okay. So we'll take this out. and the parameter def summary needs an @ symbol. Okay. So also when we're doing filter values, it's missing tabs up in front, which is slightly before this. So we got filter value 1 and filter value 2. They're missing tabs before the commas. So we're going to do a tab here and a tab there. Save. All right, no, cancel. All right, so that goes up, tab, 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 and tab. All right, so that's formatted. That's good. Select looks fine. The where is okay. After the where primary key declaration, which is the very, very beginning of the where, we have one line break. Let's do another line break, like so. And then from here, we're basically saying if the filter type is 3, and I don't remember what filter type 3 is, so I think that's where we actually have to put the names of it in. So yeah, so inside of here for filter terms, I think what we can do is we can do s append 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dash dash um, yeah, and we'll call it filter type append term ID. Okay, so we have filter type or filter term essentially. Yep. Why am I calling them filter types if they're filter terms? Uh, yeah, I think that's just whatever. So our inbound, we do have filter type, so that's fine. And here we're calling them filter terms, so that's whatever. So filter type, whatever the filter type ID is, and then we have to basically say like what that is so we can inform ourselves later. And we would say equals filter term like so. All right, and then we'll put append line at the end, just like that. All right, save that. Not search, save. Save, save, save. Okay, so we have that. And in this case, we then have a weird where statement that's not pulling in any information. Okay, so we have the unique key here, but let's declare the variable field with unique key. Oh, right. Then it needs filter value 1. Yeah, so then we would append here to filter value 1, like that. With an extra space at the end. Yeah. Actually, we probably don't even need the extra space because we can put the space there. All right, so we have that. So this gets us field with unique key equals this. And then the where statement is going to be a concatenation of the where, and then it would be like whatever. So it's going to have to equal something like cat SQL where, comma, and field with unique key, like field, like that, something like that. So where has to be changed to that, essentially. Um, yep. So if wildcard is before or after, then this statement was here, and this goes here. But that concat and append, not append line, but append field name, SQL field name with brackets. Yep. Okay. Dot append, and we have then like whatever the variable name is, append field dot variable name for stored procedures dot append is like the filter. Okay, so yeah, it's the same where statement on like 6 of them. All right, well, that's fine. And essentially, if the wildcards aren't there, then it's a slightly different case. So then we could do else for the wildcards, because then we can just do the values, I think, instead of the other ones. Um, So when we're doing where this way, and we would do where equals what it was before, like filter value 1 and filter value 2, just like the between sense of things. Let's see how this turns. See if it got any better. Okay, new, paste. Okay, already it's seeming better. Filter, filter value, filter, filter value. So then parameter select and summary. We do want an extra line break after this. All right, and that puts that line break there. So then we're going to select these fields where, all right, so then this one ends up with a weird line break issue where there's too many line breaks, where append line and append line. So we got that now. All right. And we probably don't even need to add an append line here. We can just say where something like that, where, and then whatever the primary key field name is greater than 0. Now, this one is not having it with brackets, but that's fine. It shouldn't need it. All right, then after we said 0, we can then put another line break in here. So essentially that should look like this now. And in here, there's a couple too many, but filter type 3 is between. So this is where we would say filter 1 and filter 2 aren't null, and then filter type 10 is equal to, again, same concept, but slightly different. So in order to get those values, and I think what we can do is we can actually add a few more tabs like that. And we have an append line here. We have an append line there. Huh. Why do we have 2 append lines after begin? Okay, that should be taken care of. That's out. So decimal field 10. Yeah, all right, so that makes sense. And essentially the first comparator symbol is what we're looking for. So when we're trying to do the comparison symbols, if they're present, then we would have to bring in that second value. So for a lot of these, except for not between and between, we have that. So the where symbol, let's continue. Yeah, so it could run, but it can't run because the procedure already exists, which is fine. So we'll go back over here, new, paste. All right. So looking much better. Filter type is between. So between then says the where is going to immediately start with an and. Um, SQL where equals and. That's a given. No, SQL where equals concat SQL where and. All right, so now it looks like that. Then we want the field name. Right, so we have that one. Now, when we did it here, we did the word like, but it's not always like. It could sometimes be not like. Does not contain. Right. So this is first comparison text or symbol. So then we would take out this and do filter append filter term first comparator text or symbol append all right, so then we have, yeah, so that would be like or not like. which makes sense. So then when we're saying the other ones, like less than, greater than, etc., we would essentially do the same thing. I wonder if we can just use that regardless, because we have a first comparator for all of these things. And well, that's fine. I think this is then bringing in the filter, but we'll do first comparator like this, like so, and then we'll append it's very similar, except it's not filter, it's gonna be the value, right? Filter value 1. Okay. So this is basically saying, okay, yeah, we have if the wildcards, if we're working with wildcards, we have to set that thing up. If we're not working with wildcards, then we don't have to set that up. But if there is a second filter value, what? Huh? Who is Rich Chapler?